CBS was in love with that in that game. All they did was zoom in on the ball. It looked like the ball was never going to land. No one,
it looks so high when they show the punt.
But no one gives a shit about the height of the punt. It's about the return and like the setup. I'd rather see that.
I know, it was kind of cool the first couple of times, though.
Well, the first time I wasn't expecting it, and I legit thought it was the highest punt of all time.
Never going to be caught.
Yeah.
I said, no chance in hell that everybody catches that fucker. That thing touched the sky.
I think the cameraman at CBS was loaded, so let's join him.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast,
where we never finish first because we finish last.
Thank you for listening to the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben Morgan. That is DJ, and if you hear anything in the background, that's DJ's TV because the games are still going on Sunday.
They are, man. This is crazy. It's hard to even concentrate on podcasts while I have you hear the TV still. While I have a friend over watching the games. Gambling going on. It's hard.
That's the only thing making that one game relevant in your mind. If you're watching the Cardinals and the 49ers right now, you're either A, one of their fans, or B, you have money on them. Because if you're watching that, you're a special case.
Or you're not covering Jimmy Graham. All right.
Or that. So this is our Week 9 Instant Reactions episode. We're going to go hit every game so far in the week. But before we start, I want to explain one quick thing we're going to add to the Thursday episode. We're going to do a playoff bucket challenge. It's going to be a competition between myself and DJ where every time there's a team that we don't think is in contention for the playoffs anymore, we're going to toss them into this imaginary bucket. And once a team is in that imaginary bucket, they cannot be taken out. So it's a competition to see who can get the most teams correct that make the playoffs, but have the fewest teams left to choose from. So as soon as you think a team is going to be eliminated from the playoffs, you want to dump them. And then we'll do points every week based on the number of teams in your bucket. So for example, if I have 8 teams in my bucket in week 9 and then 10 teams in my bucket in week 10, I'll have the 17 total points, so a point for every team. And then I'm also going to get 10 points for every team that makes the playoffs that you haven't put in your imaginary bucket. And the total points at the end of the year wins. We'll briefly touch on that every week just to see how it goes. Right now, just for example, I think the score is 8-8 because we started it last week, but DJ missed the podcast, so we didn't get to talk about it. But we each currently have 8 teams in our playoff bucket. My bucket is the Jets, the Browns, the Colts, the Giants, the Bears, the Cardinals, 49ers, Broncos, and Buccaneers. And that's after this week as well. I did add a few. And DJ, who can still add some prior to week 10, has the Jets, the Browns, the Colts, the Broncos, the Giants, 49ers, the Dolphins, and the Redskins. So those are the teams that we are saying right now have no chance of making the playoffs. So why you got to be hating on the Dolphins like that, honestly? Like, you already think they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, they have no chance. Jay Cutler, Matt Moore, doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They're really bad. I just was like, no chance they make the playoffs. There's probably like a 12 to 15. I feel like I think the only reason that they're even not in my bucket yet is because I'm a fan. I just can't let it happen. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Let's jump into the instant reactions. We got Thursday night football, Jets 34, Bills 21. Why don't you give us your single syllable reaction?
Garbage time is my single syllable for this one. Fucking Tyrod Taylor only had 1 touchdown going in like the last 5 minutes there. Gets a rushing touchdown, throws one, and I get 30 points in garbage time on it. My boy Ty God.
I hate that. That's literally like just how like.
That's why you love Blake Bortles.
That's how Bortles was doing it that year I had him, and I felt so guilty every week. Though. Yeah, they actually are, but they're soon to be in my damn bucket. Because my single syllable is Richie's right. Richie Incognito, did you hear that? He came out and said, Thursday night games are trash. We shouldn't be doing this. Thursday night games suck. We have one good one.
They lost, so that's kind of a pussy move.
Agreed, to an extent. Because it is a pussy move. But besides that one Chiefs and Raiders game, those games suck. The Bills, I think, even though that is a pussy move, They still have a better chance of making the playoffs between these two, but between the lack of prep time, the recovery time for the players, just these games just suck.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they're going to suck, especially further you go into the season. The more tired guys are going into that Thursday night game. But also, it's part of the scheduling. Like, the last couple of games have been the shitty matchups that nobody wants to watch anyways. So
hey, don't put the Dolphins in that category, you asshole.
Yeah, real shitty.
Yeah, and then we get the Cardinals next week, so it's going to get worse. Let's move on to the Ravens-Titans. Titans hold on for a 23-20 win. What do you got?
What do I got? I've got something in front of my words. I've got Maction. Maction is my single syllable. That's not a single syllable for this game. Macklin could be a savior for your fantasy team if you're weak at wide receiver. Joe Flacco loves targets. I picked him up just this last week off the waiver wire. Didn't play him, but actually my other two wide receivers I played over him. I scored him, but that was 98 yards he had. He's definitely a wide receiver too, a flex option in your leagues.
I think he's a little worse than that. I don't
know, man. He's 2 weeks in a row of lots of targets.
I think you need to be fairly desperate to use a guy like Macklin. And then that week against the Dolphins, he had one catch down the sideline. Granted, they didn't really need to do anything because they were just smoking the Dolphins anyways. Yeah. But I'm not sold on him. Like I said, you got to be pretty damn weak at receiver to be using.
No, I don't agree. I think he's going to be a very viable wide receiver the rest of this time going forward.
When you first said
Flacco's going to focus on him.
Flacco played today. I thought he died.
I know he's alive.
When you said Maction, I thought you were going to be like, this is like a Thursday night college football game.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I know. That's why I said that. That's why it was fun. That's why I was trying to tie the two together.
Mine is AFC South winners. At 5-3, the Titans are going to win the AFC South. You look at their competitors. You got the Jaguars. They have a lack of offense. Yeah. You got the Texans. They have a lack of Deshaun Watson. And then you have the Colts. You have the lack of Andrew Luck. The remaining schedule for the Titans is the Bengals, probably win. Steelers, tough game. Colts, win. Houston, win. Arizona, win. San Francisco, win. Rams, tough game. And Jags, which could be a big one for the division. But I'm going to recklessly speculate here. The Titans must have the easiest remaining schedule left in the NFL. So they are your AFC South winners.
I think you're really overrating the Titans because they just beat a really, really bad Ravens team by 3.
Agreed.
And they don't have an identity. They can't run as well as they have been. The throwing game is lacking. Jacksonville, I think, wins that division easily. They're not going to be able to do anything against Jacksonville when they play against them. There's going to be no chance. They're not going to be able to shoot their defense. Their secondary is awful.
I get
they can stop the run, but they can't. And Blake Bortles is actually like showing that he might be a viable quarterback if you give him his confidence is building. I think he got in a fight with one of the guys this week. At the end of the game, one of the coaches used telling him to shove it up his ass like he played football.
I just can't do it. When you say Jaguars winning and offense, I just get these chills from Blake Bortles. Like, dude, it's not going to happen. But they did do it again without Fournette for his little suspension here.
And Blake Bortles played really well.
I'm sorry. I just can't. I'm done. I don't want to talk about Blake Bortles right now. Let's go on. Let's move on. NFC South matchup, Saints 30, Bucks 10. What you got?
I got fuck me. I'm done betting on the Bucks and telling you guys to bet on the Bucks and playing Jameis Winston. I should have played Bortles over Winston this last week, but I'm just reading reports saying this could be Jameis coming up as a QB1 this week. I got all excited. I got into it. They played like garbage. He came out in the first half. He's fighting, he's poking people. Then Mike Evans is knocking people out. Mikey Evans is the only startable player in fantasy football on this team. Doug Martin he had 7 yards. What the hell is that all about?
I don't want to talk about it. I had him in a starting lineup role today. So, yeah, I'm all about probably not using Martin, which goes into what I want to say. My single syllable is fire sale. I looked at the remaining schedule for the Bucks. It's favorable. They actually have some enticing matchups, and you're not going to want to do it. I would maybe try to sell Mike Evans. He had one catch versus the Saints. Like you said, Jameis Winston's hurt. When he is hurt, he's even on the sideline getting in people's faces for no reason. The team's folding. I would even try to trade Deshaun Jackson and Doug Martin as well, but they're not going to fetch you anything. So
Mike Evans is still going to continue. put up numbers. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be the only one, but if you could trade him for something and maybe get something a little bit more consistent, you might not get the boom week that you might get out of Evans, but you might get a consistent play from someone.
They still, top 10 in scoring, so.
Well, I'm making it official after these. My initial reaction, my instant reaction, Bucks are in my bucket. They're done. They're in my bucket.
There you go.
Let's go
I haven't even gotten a chance to look at that. But.
Well, we can always add to it. As long as you add to it by Thursday, we'll have it all figured out. 51 points scored by the Rams over the Giants, who scored 17, but it didn't really matter. This one was over from the jump.
So what's my word is what you're asking?
Have at it.
Or my single syllable, or it's retire. I'm just done watching Eli Manning. Like, he can be out of the league now. I don't care. This guy just needs to go. It's weird. The difference between Eli and Jay is just fun because he just doesn't care and he gets pissed and it's just hilarious for me.
Jay Cutler?
Eli is just, and
talk
Eli
about Jay like you know him on a first name basis.
Eli faces smoking Jay. He's gonna be my friend pretty soon. The way his career is going, he's gonna be sitting next to me watching fucking games in the basement, yelling at dudes.
Who makes better faces? Who makes better faces, Cutler or Manning? Because they're close.
We should make like a Twitter war contest out of it. Just a bunch of pictures of each other.
It's pretty unbelievable that we got both of these guys like in the same era, like at the same time to even compare them to each other. My single syllable here is Daily Fantasy Sports Call of the Year. As a comment, I mean, I recommended the stack of Jared Goff and Sammy Watkins, and we were both talking about Gurley, and I said if you're going expensive to mid-range with running back, throw him in there.
I said you had to go with one of those guys.
Well, he was on my list too. You just asked my question before I could get to it. But Jared Goff goes for 300 plus and 4 touchdowns. Didn't even play the whole game because he was out because they were whooping that ass. Gurley goes for 104 total yards, 2 touchdowns. And Watkins, I mean, he only got 2 targets, but he made the most of them.
And he had 1 reception.
167-yard touchdown. But that's a huge fantasy play. I mean, it could have been better, but gosh, what was he, like $6,000, $7,000 max in FanDuel?
Yeah.
So you got your money's worth. Oh, so I just realized this. The Rams scored 51 and the Eagles scored 51. Eagles 51-23 over the Broncos.
Yep.
What do you got?
I give up. I'm just going to give up and say it. Wentz is really good.
Say it again.
I said it. Wentz is really good. I said it. Fuck off. Fuck off, everybody. Suck my dick. That's it. That's all I have to say on that. I'm like, it's time to give in. He just put up 51 fucking points on the Broncos defense.
It is, man. Christ. That defense was once feared, and now they gave up, close to 30 to the Chiefs, and now they gave up 50 to the Eagles. I mean,
it's wild.
Yeah, Wentz is good, but man, that defense just must be so pissed at their offense that they're probably just folding. Like, if that offense was playing better, I'm sure the defense would play a little better too. My single syllable here is running back by committee. I'm looking at number of carries for these guys. You got Ajayi with 8. You got Corey Clement with 12. LeGarrette Blount with 9. Wendell Smallwood with 5. I sort of see Smallwood taking a back seat here as Ajayi gets a little bit more practice reps and time with the team. And I think Corey Clement will continue to get snaps moving forward as well. But I kind of really only see Ajayi being like the one reliable fantasy guy here. But the question I'm going to ask you, would you consider Clement on waivers if he's there? He had 3 touchdowns today. And if you have Ajayi kind of filling in for that LeGarrette Blount role, he sees less snaps. But then if you have a change of pace guy, I think that might be Clement over Smallwood. So would you consider him on the waivers?
Not really. I think it's like you were saying. I think it's basically Jay's team. That's why they brought him in there. And I would say the change of pace is the score. Change of pace guy would be Smallwood because he's going to be more the receiving threat. I'm not going to be high on grabbing Clement on the waivers if he's there. I think it's just fool's gold as this week because they just brought a Giant, so they just used a bunch of guys.
And that 3 touchdowns is just going to look so enticing to people. Like,
yeah, it is.
People are going to be picking him up. I'm kind of the same way. The only thing that really gives me any hope for Clement is, damn it, that offense can score, and they've proven that they can score against anyone. That just means there's more touchdowns to go around. And even if it is going to Ajayi or Smallwood or whoever, like, Clement proved today that, yeah, he's going to be in that mix as well. And he did catch one of his touchdowns as well. So I wouldn't completely rule him out in that role.
This is hard to concentrate on with the Seattle game with down 3 points with 44 seconds left. You're killing me, Smalls.
It's pretty simple. I'm doing a fine job.
I know. I can't think. It's like trying to look at the screen and listen to you and watch this game. All right, let's keep going.
Panthers beat the Falcons. What the fuck are the Falcons doing, man? Panthers win 20-17. I'll go first on this one. My single syllable is, say what now? Because Jonathan Stewart fumbles twice. They still win. Say what now?
Yeah.
Devin Funches, the only true wide receiver to even catch a pass for the Panthers. Say what now? The Panthers are 6-3. Say what now? So mine is say what now. I want to ask you, what's more likely? The Falcons continue to keep struggling, or the Panthers keep on ugly winning? Because that was some ugly ass winning.
Falcons keep struggling. Panthers defense is solid, keeps them in almost every game. Then with Cam's ability to run around a little bit, they are just an ugly team. So they're going to win ugly, keep it close, and pull off. It's like almost like the Seattle like right now. It's like they're the same team almost. So continue to win ugly. And I think we have to talk about the Julio. Like if you're a Julio owner and you saw that I about shot myself in the head as a Julio owner. Like what the? Julio doesn't drop that wide open in the end zone.
My single syllable was going. I had it typed into the agenda and everything. It was going to be Julio. No.
Nice. That would have been better. I liked it.
Oh my gosh, that was just so brutal. Everyone just waiting, like, come on, get this guy the ball in the end zone. Throw it to him.
I said that when the ball was in the air because I remember seeing him running the route. I'm like, oh, Julio's wide open.
And you never get Julio that open, and Julio doesn't drop the ball. Like, no. Oh, that was clutch. That was like a 50-yard touchdown. So that's like a 12-point fantasy play, basically. Yeah. That one hurt. I'm not too big on just the Panthers still. I mean, it's kind of funny, though, here before the trade deadline, they deal Kelvin Benjamin. There were 5-3 at the time when they deal him. And it's kind of like they're like, when you look at trades, you're like, well, we're trading for now or we're trading for the future. And that, obviously, getting rid of one of their best receivers, it looks like you're trading for the future. That loss doesn't do anything to them. Like, yeah, he's a target and everything, but like, it didn't really seem to affect the offense whatsoever. They still scored like they normally do.
Yeah.
You're a train wreck right now. Go to your thing.
Sorry. I thought we were going to go on to my... mine is hangover. We kind of talked about it. I think that clearly the Falcons just can't recover from last year's Super Bowl loss. They look mediocre at best. I mean, it's just hard to watch them play. I can't. Matt Ryan looks average. The whole offense is average. I don't know what's going on.
What's scary about that is they look like, okay, so they were always like just kind of good before that Super Bowl run, and now they look worse than that. Like, they don't even look on par with that anymore.
It's ugly.
Well, we talked a little bit about the Jags and Bortles. Let's go on to their 23-7 win. We have the same basically thing. Mine's body blows. And I think I'm going to say a lot of what you're going to say. But if you're going to punch someone with a helmet on, you got to go for body shots. Why are you hitting someone in the head?
I don't get that. I said the exact same thing to the guy I was sitting next to. I'm like, why? First off, why did he start fighting with them?
Yeah, quick backstory. So in case you missed it 1 second, in case you missed this game somehow or the fight somehow, AJ Green, Jalen Ramsey kind of going at it. Jalen Ramsey, there's rumors that he said something that AJ Green didn't like. Jalen Ramsey then proceeded to push AJ Green. AJ Green then went all out on him. There was wrestling, there was punches, and then you can go on from there.
Yeah, and like he put him in a head from behind. Like I expected him just to come up and push him, but he just went straight headlock. But my one word is fight, or my one single syllable, is fight.
Yeah, no shit.
Green just going after this dude. He actually, and I remember this because I'm a Nebraska fan, he had a bowl game when he was back in college. They were playing against Nebraska, and he got in a huge fight, and I couldn't remember the cornerback's name. But he got in a huge fight just like that where they both got ejected for fighting like this. So, yes, it's not his first rodeo.
Well, I didn't even know that they were at a rodeo, so that's news to me. But
oh, my God.
They almost had another Phil Mary, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. AJ Green versus Jalen Ramsey in a parking lot. Who do you got?
AJ looked a lot more gangster.
He did.
And we've had our discussions about Jalen Ramsey. I don't think he's winning in a fight against anybody.
I've got, right now by my scoring, I've got AJ Green 4-2. If this is a wrestling match, if my scoring knowledge is up to date. AJ Green has 2 takedowns. Ramsey has 2 escapes.
He got jacked up by one guy, though.
Yeah, he did. So, but I'm with you. I like Green. He looked like he was ready to bite someone's head off after that fight, man. He was ready to go.
I love the fights today.
I loved Twitter afterwards. People were like making like memes and shit, like showing AJ Green all pissed off and saying like, Andy Dalton, you're next.
Yeah, I know, that was good.
That's a pretty solid one. So, yeah, not much from that game. Cincinnati kind of sucks. The Colts, 20-14 over the Texans. I'm sorry, Texans fans. I'll get to that in a second. What's your word on this?
Resurgence. T.Y. Hilton just balling out here. 175, 2 touchdowns. People wondering if he's worthy of the number 1 wide receiver spot, all that stuff. He still has that ability to put up big numbers, and Brissett's going to find if he gets open. He still can be a wide receiver 1 on your team here. Don't get down if you have him.
Yeah.
Just because you have a bad game. He's like Tyreek Hill, basically.
Yeah. The thing about T.Y. Hilton, if you look at like his game-by-game scoring, if he plays against a good defense when Brissett's the quarterback, you can't expect too much. But honestly, no matter who the quarterback is, if he has a favorable matchup, he has like some of the biggest boom potential. Like if he scores, I swear to God, he's scoring 2 touchdowns and he's getting 170 yards.
He was 5 for 175. Jesus.
Yeah, it might have been even though
35 yards a catch.
Yeah, and that second touchdown might have been a little bit fluky, but I mean, fantasy football's box score. It doesn't too much matter. So
nobody gives a shit about whatever. Yeah,
it is what it is. My takeaway here, my instant reaction is enjoy your Astros World Series win, Houston fans. This legit just sucks for Houston fans because there was so much potential with this team the way that Watson was playing, and now you're basically watching the Houston Texans team of last year where you were stuck with Osweiler, stuck with Savage. Your defense can't do that much. Their defense was actually decent last year, but the offense was just so pitiful that it kind of like that we were just talking about with Denver. Your defense is on the field so much, you're going to give up points. So kind of just sucks for Houston. They're effed. What is in the background? Turn that off.
Oh, sorry. I can shut that off now.
Yeah. Listeners, every listener across America just said thanks, DJ.
Yeah, I forgot that was going on because with these earphones and I can't really hear it.
Let's go on to one of the games that just got over. Cardinals versus 49ers. I don't even have the score written down.
Let's see here. I got it right in front of me. I thought I did anyways. 20-10.
20-10. And who won?
I said Cardinals.
Okay. What I was doing there was setting up my one-liner here because mine is 2018. I have no interest whatsoever in this game. What I am interested in is this game next year. You've got a freshly acquired Jimmy Garoppolo. 49ers are going to have a pretty high pick. Team's going to look a lot different. Reuben Foster's going to be healthy. Solomon Thomas is going to be healthy. Hopefully the 49ers are a little bit better. And then you're going to have a rebuilt Arizona Cardinals team. You're probably going to be moved on from Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald. David Johnson's going to be back. It's going to be 2 new-look teams. So screw what happened today. I don't care. I'm interested in this game next year.
My single syllable is actually going to be one day. Because this is a fluke. San Francisco, for Adrian Peterson, that's in regards to Adrian Peterson, this is the only day that's going to happen. San Francisco matchup, he had 130 yards. Worst freaking run defense for the last 2 years, San Francisco.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, DJ, blah, 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 you told me not to play it. Well, you got a good matchup here. He had a good game, but don't continue to see that. I expect last week's, or whatever his last game was.
His last 2 weeks.
The 21 yards he put up is going to be more like what he puts up going forward. That was a really good matchup against the Niners. So one day.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm not putting too much stock in AP. Like I said, he's going to be more of a fantasy guy than a team guy. That team's just done without Palmer, without Johnson. They're toast. I think I have the wrong score here for the Redskins Seahawks because someone scored at the end.
We got 17-14.
17-14. Redskins win at the end on was like a 1-yard touchdown?
Yeah, just a rushing touchdown from Fat Rob.
What do you got for this game? Anything good? It's got your attention, is what it had.
It does, but I'm trying to think of something clever because we didn't like it to prep ahead of time. It's more like real or fake. Like, what are the Seahawks? I can't ever tell. Like, they play so good against the Texans this last week, and then they play like shit this entire game at home and end up losing at the end of the game. I don't. What are they?
Right, and that kind of, it's not a perfect segue, but it leads into what I was going to say, and mine would be Cousins Wilson. Like, yeah, Seattle is good with Wilson moving forward. That's who they are. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's not perfect by any means, but are the Redskins completely content with Kirk Cousins? Like, this is a tough game, and they're going to have to make that decision. And this whole Jimmy Garoppolo going to San Francisco, it took away one of the teams that was going to be going for quarterbacks. So now, I mean, there definitely are quarterbacks going into it, but I know that Kirk Cousins is going to have a home. He's going to get a deal somewhere. But if you were starting a team and you're between Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson, I know that you're not a huge fan of either, but justify why you would take one over the other.
I mean, it's Russell Wilson, I think, because he's proven to win a Super Bowl. He's lost a Super Bowl. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. So, how do you not take Russell and his ability to scramble and make plays? I don't think that's really a question, honestly.
Thanks for shitting on my question.
I mean, it's just really hard. I don't even know. If I said, I'm already a Russell hater, but if I said Kirk, I would just be ignorant.
Yeah, I just wanted to see where you were because I knew you don't really like Russell Wilson, so I'm like, well, I'm going to put another average guy out here and see what you say about him.
Yeah.
So it opened you up a little bit to Wilson, which I'm happy I got that out.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Don't want to do that again.
Yeah, thanks. Can we all agree that Seattle needs to retire that play that they tried in the Super Bowl instead of handing it to Marshawn Lynch? You said that failed twice today?
Yeah, he got picked off earlier in the game on that the guy jumped it just like Duncan Butler did, where they ran into Doug Baldwin and picked it up. And then in the 2-point conversion, he threw it directly to the safety. I was like, what? Yeah, it's like the same quick pass. Guys just standing there on it.
Yeah, it was a replay of the same thing that they tried doing in the Super Bowl a few years ago when it got picked. And it's like, it's almost like they're bound and determined to make it work. Like, you know what? We just didn't execute it that day. It's still a good play. Sometimes you just got to swallow your ego. Just screw them, man. That play sucks. You're not meant for it. Just get rid of it.
I never even thought about this. Maybe I should know this. Does that interception go down as an interception on the 2-point conversion or no?
No, it doesn't. Literally,
that's stupid.
I know.
Because you can score 2 points off of it.
Yeah, and literally
almost did.
And that's the thing. It won't count for anyone's individual stats. It will literally only count if they get a defensive score for 2 points.
It should still count as an interception. It doesn't make any sense.
Kind of, yeah. I got to think about that
It's
more.
a play. I mean, it's a play. Like, you kick an extra point, and you
get a point for that.
You go for 2-point conversion, you get points. It's like you get points for this. You get the stats for it. Why would not?
Yeah, maybe it shouldn't have been when they couldn't return it, but now that you can return it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
All right, we're writing a letter to Goodell after this.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Let's go to the final game. The Chiefs versus the Cowboys. Crazy play before halftime. Tyreek Hill scores on one of the worst defensive showings of all time. But the Cowboys prevail, and they beat a good Chiefs team. So what do you got for this one?
I got the boys are back in town. They're starting to roll a little bit. I like it. If the Eagles falter 1 or 2 times and the Cowboys get to them, this is going to be a division. They're going to challenge them to win this division. Yeah, they got that running game rolling as long as Zeke doesn't get suspended, but who knows what's going to happen to that. But Dak looks good. Their defense looked surprisingly really good. I was surprised because their secondary is borderline just garbage. So I think they're back to being one of the scariest teams in NFC, just like last year.
Yeah, they definitely look good. The thing against them is just that remaining schedule. It is brutal. So they almost need to, I don't want to say they have to play perfect every single game, but they need to bring it every game, and they need Zeke. Like, they can't afford to lose him right now, just for his production and just the threat that he provides out there, just making everyone better, which goes into mine. And mine is first in 15, not first and 15 like a false start, but first in 15, because Williams, the kid out of Baylor, I always forget his first name. Terrence Williams, thank you for that. First Cowboys receiver with over 100 receiving yards in the last 15 or 16 games. So
Dez was close too.
And Dez was close, and that's what I wanted to go with here because he rolled his ankle a little bit at the end. So Terrence Williams goes for over 100. Cole Beasley scores 2 touchdowns. You have the every single week, is he going to be suspended? Is he not going to be suspended with Zeke? Would you consider Cole Beasley or Terrence Williams on the waiver, with all that being said?
I've considered Terrence Williams. I like him as a wide receiver. So, yeah, absolutely, especially in deeper leagues. He looks explosive. You have to. It looks like that. 9 receptions.
Yeah.
Dez has not really been that good this year. It's almost like he's like the number 1 wide receiver so far.
He looks good. I mean, they made a point like Terrence Williams is who he is. Like, this is who he is as a receiver. He's not going to be kind of what they thought out of college. But if you put him in these positions to succeed, he's been reliable with his hands. He's smart. He's not trying to do too much after he gets it. He just catches the ball. He turns upfield, and he gets his yards. He knows where the sticks are. He played a complete game today. And, yeah, he's kind of been doing it all year, just really quietly. So if you're a little weak at receiver and he's still available, I am definitely not opposed to picking up Terrence Williams. Would you take him over Beasley? Even though Beasley had the 2 touchdowns in today's game? Did you catch that?
Oh. No.
Oh, I would say, would you still take Terrence Williams over Cole Beasley?
Okay. Oh, you're still going.
I was just asking. I just said, I'm sorry, we had some technical difficulties there. I was just saying I like Terrence Williams over Cole Beasley if I'm picking one up. Do you too?
Yeah, I would take, I know he had the 2 touchdowns on Beasley, but he only had like 20-something yards. So, yeah, I definitely take Terrence Williams over Cole Beasley.
Right. Well, let's wrap this puppy up because the Dolphins play on TV, and I'm excited to watch this shit show.
I don't know why.
Predictions, Oakland at Miami. What you got?
Oakland wins by, how many zeros is that? I think that's like 1 million or something like that.
That might even be a billion.
No, I think
that's exactly a million.
I don't know. I just started typing zeros and it happened to be a million. Oakland wins by 1 million in this game.
I do have a lot of Raiders. I do have a lot of Raiders in fantasy.
Cooper,
I'll take it.
Cooper and Crabtree and everybody that catches the ball on that team is going to have a touchdown of like 100 yards. 500 yards passing. It's going to be like Baker Mayfield.
Oh, yeah. That game was fun, man.
Yeah.
Well,
it was.
Speaking of the Dolphins and speaking of Baker Mayfield, I'm looking forward to 2018 when Baker Mayfield's rocking that all aqua. No, I'm just kidding. My bold prediction is not that Baker Mayfield is the next Dolphins quarterback, even though I'd be open to seeing what it looks like. Miami comes out blazing tonight. They win this game because football is weird.
Oh, you're weird. Jay Cutler doesn't change.
Football's not weird. You're weird.
Jay Cutler doesn't just change who he is. Like, oh, I'm going to come out and just be good all of a sudden. Off my injury, I'm magically better. Like, you're an idiot.
The worst thing about this is, like, he's got broken ribs. They say he's not even going to wear, like, one of those protective things.
Oh, my God.
And you know he's going to get sloshed around. And then
I cannot wait for him to
back foot throw, interception to the Raiders. Yeah, I know what you were going to say, even though you froze up there. I finished the sentence for you.
What was I saying?
You can't wait for Jay Cutler to be running backwards off his back foot, throw an Oakland Raiders interception.
Yes. I can't wait for it. I was going to say, I can't wait for him to backpedal and throw an interception right off his back foot. I can't wait. It's probably going to happen on the first drive.
Sunday Night Football fun fact, the Oakland Raiders are the only team in the NFL without an interception. That will change.
Oh, this is perfect.
That's going to change.
He's going to throw one right to someone.
And what also sucks is Matt Moore, like, if he would have been, like, starting in this game, if Cutler wasn't hurt, like, he would have been questionable at best, too, because he still got rocked in that Thursday game. Yeah. So another bold prediction could be that you see David Fales playing tonight.
What a name for a guy in the Dolphins, Fales.
Kind of sums him up.
Yep.
Well, thank you for listening. We'll be back midweek with another episode. We might have something else in the works that we'll get to, but for the time being,
Packers tomorrow night.
We got the Green Bay Packers versus the Lions tomorrow night. No Kenny Galladay again. Kind of sad. That guy keeps teasing me.
Yeah, I don't know why he was still hanging on to that guy.
Just hanging. Just kind of hanging on.
He hasn't done anything since week 1.
Nope. No.
Jesus Christ.
Well, thanks again for listening. Check us out on Twitter at LoadedBox. Like I said, we'll be checking in on you midweek for a little Week 10 preview. That's all we got. Thanks for listening, and send us out, DJ.
Bye.